All right, so we're further into the Reason Rally now, and I met Matthew. Matthew's from New York, and he is the co-president,
the vice president of the Atheist and Agnostic Society of Cornell.
At Cornell, okay.
Yeah,
so you came all the way down for the Reason Rally?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have family around here, but yeah, so it's kind of a dual.
The mental states
I mean, it becomes a little bit complicated. You can talk about brain states as causing mental states, and that might make some sense. I personally think that it's a little bit odd.
What I'm hearing you, though, is I guess what I'm getting at is this, is that we have as foundations here, we're stardust, we're apes, we're cosmically, broccoli, your brain is fizzing, right? And why should anybody say, we need to fight for this kind of brain fizz? Versus over here a person is fizzing this way. Why is one brain fizz more than...
Well, that's why I brought up the, well, in terms of resolving disputes, that's one question. In terms of why within one framework I would believe anything at all, again, I think that it's a result of a combination of evolved social instincts.
So it's just random.
It's not random.
It could have evolved the other way.
Random.
It could have evolved the other way.
It could have evolved in a different way, and it does evolve in a different way in other social species.
So evolution could have brought us to irrationality as the norm.
We were talking about morality, not rationality.
I'm talking about the information and the fizz going on in your brain. So over here we have, if I use your foundations, if I take atheism, say Dawkins, naturalistic materialism, and I look out across right now, I see a bunch of bags of biological stuff that are fizzing chemically thoughts that say, reason, reason. And they say we should all hold to the same kind of reasoning and everything else going on over here. But that's the foundations.
Yes.
As a Christian, I look at over here, I say this is not just stardust or not just bags of stuff. They're made in the Imago Dei. Everyone here has value and dignity, including you. We should fight for universal laws and changing and variant laws of logic, because this world is not just matter and motion. There are immaterial aspects to our being.
Well, I mean, the things that you're saying seem to represent a hunger for an absolute foundation on which to base reason and rationality.
What I'm saying is that you don't have any philosophical justification for either science, logic, or morality.
You don't have any kind of an absolute basis. That's correct.
You do.
I mean, well, you believe you do, but you're wrong.
Well, no. I actually can demonstrate to you, even by your own reasoning right now, that the God that you and I both know exists, because you're reasoning according to the Christian worldview. You're acting as though their nature is uniform, but you can't justify that given your atheism.
No, but I take uncertainty as being a basic epistemological position. So only uncertainty. So only if I wanted to claim that I was capable of having certain assertions would I need to.
So you can have no certainty.
That's correct.
Are you certain about that?
That's an interesting point.
Did I hear you earlier say that it's objectively true that there's no objective truth? Didn't you say that earlier?
Yes.
Okay, so that totally contradicts what you just said.
There are two statements. I'm absolutely certain I can have no certainty.
No, I didn't say I was absolutely certain.
Well, you said I'm certain.
No, so so you can have certainty when you have, in terms of a self-contained logical system. So, do you know the distinction between analytic and synthetic propositions?
But you told me that laws of logic are just results of chemicals going on in our brain.
That's an interesting question. So, for example, mathematics it's an interesting philosophical question of why mathematics works so well and why
I know why it does. It reflects
you
things of
believe
God.
You know why it does.
Well, an interesting thing though, Matthew, is that you're living right now standing on a Christian view of reality and how you're living, but you're denying it with your atheism. You're fighting for things like uniformity in nature, laws of logic, and morality, but you have no justification given your atheism.
Well, I mean, Christian intellectual theology was developed on a basis of Platonic and Aristotelian Roman philosophy. So,
that's an authoritarian claim. It's not rooted.
Well,
in
history. In terms of my basic epistemological and ontological positions, I am.
What are you, rationalist?
I am
empiricist?
I am a scientific realist. I believe that synthetic assertions about the universe are always open to revision through further evidence.
So laws of logic aren't necessarily universal.
Laws of logic are analytical, so they're self-contained.
Are they universal?
Laws of logic are a self-contained system of propositions.
Should I be listening to you right now looking for inconsistencies, or no? Because you and I don't share the same brain. So how are this appeal you're making to these universal laws of logic, how does that leap from your brain to mine? We don't share the same brain. How is that a universal truth?
Well, we actually have very similar brains,
but we don't share the same brain.
Yeah.
You're fizzing atheistic thoughts right now. I'm fizzing Christian theistic thoughts. But you're trying to appeal to universal laws of logic. But given atheism, all you are is matter in motion.
I don't understand what the point
Where's
you're trying
the
to make
universal law of logic? Can I touch it?
Well, that's an interesting question. The thing is that there's no reason to believe that, unusually intelligent apes that evolved on one planet in the universe should have the hardware to be able to solve, the basic questions of the universe. So trying to appeal to me as a scientific rationalist to try to answer all of the basic and deep philosophical questions about the universe
you're living,
is not realistic.
Well, Matthew, the thing is, though, is you're living as though these laws of logic are universal and unchanging and necessary. But you have no justification for your appeal to them.
No
now,
ultimate
as a Christian,
justification, yes.
Right, so you're fighting for logic, which you can't justify. As
That's
a Christian, I have a basis for logic and science and morality.
Yeah, it's
so you're
fallacious one.
Well, again, you don't have a problem with fallacious things in your worldview.
No, I don't believe that.
You can't justify universals.
I don't think that you can have any ultimate justification for anything.
So you can't call what I said just fallacious.
Within the framework that I'm operating on, I am calling it fallacious. I am not saying that it has any kind of necessary ultimate reality.
Are fallacious things allowed in your worldview or not allowed?
They are just fallacious.
Are they allowed or not allowed?
So if I make the assertion that an argument is correct,
right.
the word correct has meaning within a self-contained logical system.
Right.
And so within that system, by definition, a fallacious argument is not correct. But that's part of what the meaning of the word correct is.
The logical system that you're referring to, Matthew, does that exist only in your mind, or is that universal?
I think that's related to the question of why things like mathematics work. And I don't know. I'm not a philosopher.
You don't know, but you live as though they are important.
Yes.
Do you do math as you do know?
Yes.
Do you do logic as if you do know?
So that's an interesting question. No, I don't think so. I mean, basically, I think that you can have operating assumptions that you can then work under without making without making a strong claim for their absolute necessary foundation.
That statement right now that you just made, did that have a necessary foundation, or was it just random? What I'm saying
it certainly didn't have a necessary foundation. I could have died 10 minutes ago.
Well, I mean that. I don't see that you have any justification for the laws of logic you're appealing.
You don't have ultimate justification.
There you go. So don't use them.
Well, no, I reject the idea that you have to have ultimate justification to do it.
So you would have to live in the world with no justification.
No ultimate justification.
Ultimate justification for logic, no ultimate justification for uniformity in nature, no ultimate justification for morality.
So the difference, though, then, is that I am saying that we all have to live in that world, and that you are just basically telling yourself a story that allows yourself to believe that you do have an ultimate justification.
Matthew,
you don't.
Here's the difference between you and I. You mentioned a moment ago you don't have certainty. Christians can have certainty about things that God has revealed. We have what's called a revelational epistemology.
Right.
And so we can know things for certain because God ultimately enters into world history and he tells us.
Right.
But in your worldview, you're reduced to absurdity in your reasoning and your science.
Within your worldview, you are asserting that ultimate foundations are possible and necessary and desirable.
And you're living like they are, but you reject your Creator's existence.
No, I'm not living like they are because I accept that I can operate under operational hypotheses that are not certain.
You live by faith.
It's not faith because I don't claim to be certain about it. I would have to be certain to have faith.
Matthew, do you know that tomorrow is going to be like today, and with nature being uniform?
No, that's Hume, and I don't. There's no inferential basis for inference.
So, do you have an answer for Hume's problem?
No, there's no answer for Hume.
I have an answer.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, lots of people have tried to answer.
Do you know why? Do you know how a Christian would answer the uniformity of nature problem?
it's uniform because God makes it that way.
Because God has revealed himself and he carries the universe along to its destination. That's why science is all built upon a creationist view of reality.
Yeah, and I just think that any particular person who claims to have had access to revelation is probably deluded or lying.
Well, that's a claim, but it's okay to be deluded and lying in your worldview. We're Stardust.
The word okay is a moral claim. I'm just saying that it's probably wrong.
Probably wrong, but could be right.
Absolutely.
Okay,
right.
so there's no certainty.
Nope.
Absurdities are allowed.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, you said it could be either way.
Yes.
So absurdities could be allowed.
I don't know what you mean by that.
It could be okay to just be absurd and live absurdly.
Well, I'm not going to stop you.
Right. I'm asking Matthew.
Yeah.
Is that an intelligent way to live?
That's value judgment, and I already said within my value system, I do think that having as accurate views as possible is important.
Okay, well, I'll ask you one more question,
Yeah.
and I'll let you go.
Okay.
The uniformity in nature, it's necessary to do science. It's necessary to do all that we just did.
It's desirable if you desire to have accurate.
Well, we can't do science if we don't have a rationally intelligible universe.
You can do science. You can have an operating assumption that the universe is uniform,
Right.
And the fact that it has worked so well so far is certainly evidence to believe that it is.
Right.
I mean, it could be that 100 light years from
that's
now,
circular,
you're right, and that it does not provide, and that's why it doesn't provide an absolute foundation
Justification for
because
future.
there's no answer to Hume. That's right.
I have an answer for you. And I've given
And
it.
it's just a silly
but
one.
well, no, that's my answer. And the
Yeah.
interesting thing is that you're living in the same world I am, appealing to the uniformity, but you have only blind faith.
Except that it's not faith because I'm not certain.
Was
Right,
it
but
confidence? Would you say it's
just-
confidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, I say I have I think that I have a rational justification for believing in uniformity because, as I said, science
It has
works
been in
quite
the
well.
past. Right. That's what Bertrand Russell would say to that. You're begging the question because you're using the past uniformity in nature
That's
to
right.
justify the
Well, that's
future,
not
but you
Bertrand Russell.
can't.
That's Hume.
No, Bertrand Russell in Problems in Philosophy said exactly that.
Yeah, but that is what Hume's argument
Right,
is.
but Bertrand
That
Russell
past-
would say to what you're saying, he answered you. He said the person that appeals to past uniformity to justify the future is arguing viciously.
No, that's right. And so,
Right.
but
how do you know
what that
it's-
means is that you can't be certain.
No.
But that doesn't mean that you can't
He
have
was
a
asking for a
justification.
justification, and he said you
Well,
can't give it.
Well, but at that time in philosophy, I mean, what they were arguing about was this idea of whether or not you could create this ultimate foundation on
You
which to
have
base
to
reality.
have that.
Because only if you're operating. I think that this is basically a hangover from a religious worldview.
Well, let me ask you a
I mean,
question.
it's part
right
of
now. Right now, you're standing here.
Yeah.
Right? Did you eat food today?
Yeah.
Did you drink water today?
Uh-huh.
Brush your teeth today?
Yeah.
Yes? You breathing air today?
Uh-huh.
So you're living, assuming the uniformity in nature.
Yes.
Every moment of your life, this entire conversation has assumed it.
Yes.
And you haven't thought you're just going to float away to the sky,
No.
have you?
No.
So how come you never thought that?
Well, because our brains evolved in an environment where
I'm
gravity
asking
existed.
you for the justification for gravity holding you down now like it did yesterday.
Well, what there is not, and Hume showed this, is any kind of an ultimate justification where
I've
you
already
can be certain.
given you the biblical answer to
Well,
this.
right, and there's all kinds of non-biblical answers to it, and I don't think any of them make
The
sense.
interesting thing is your atheism has left you with no justification for the preconditions of intelligibility for uniformity.
No ultimate justification.
Right.
No ultimate justification.
There you go.
Correct.
Thanks, man.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks, man.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
Thanks for the conversation.
No
man.
problem. Nice to meet you.
All right.